What is up, guys? It is Styx here, and I am doing a highly requested Titan Prismatic PvE build. This one will be a spin on a standard build I'm sure you've seen a lot. I'll explain some different variations as well as the things you might need and equally powerful alternatives. Immediately getting into the exotic we will be using. Ideally, you want to use an exotic class item. I have a short that I'll put a card in right now on how to get as many exotic class items as possible, even without doing the exotic mission. This also works if you don't own Edge of Fate, because for those unaware, even if you don't own Edge of Fate, you can still go to Ava Levante and spend candy this Festival of the Lost and get yourself several exotic class items. Our role will be Spirit of Severance, which causes powered melee or finisher final blows to unleash a damaging explosion, combined with Spirit of Contact. Damaging a target with a powered melee causes all nearby targets to suffer lightning strikes and become jolted. As I'm sure you can tell, this is an ad clear machine. If you want a variant of this, either because you don't have this exact role, or because you prefer more outright damage on your melee attacks, I recommend running Spirit of Syntheseps instead of Spirit of Contact. That way you still have the damaging explosion from the melee kills, and Syntheseps and Contact share a slot. Just keep in mind that Syntheseps only procs when you're within close proximity. If you don't have any of these options, I would recommend running the good classic Syntheseps. If you enjoy the build, subscribe. It's the easiest way to let me know that you guys enjoy this kind of content and want more of it. Now, for the abilities we're going with. We'll be playing a Prismatic Titan, of course, and for your super, I go with two different options here, depending on whether you want Woven Mail and Tangles, or Frost Armor and Stasis Shards. Blade Fury is the super we will be going with if we want to lean into the strand end of this. This means more explosions from Tangles, it builds really well into the current artifacts, and it allows us to have some interesting synergy with Woven Mail, both in the artifacts and from our teammates. Blade Fury also gives you a good amount of utility from Suspend. The other option, Glacial Quake, gives more utility in the sense of freezing targets. It provides its damage through Shatter, and it leads us to getting access to Stasis Shards, and it gives us access to Stasis Shards due to our artifact, as well as Frost Armor. For your Barricade, I recommend going with Rally Barricade. It's very nice in general in PvE. I recommend taking whatever lift you like. I like High Lift or Catapult Lift. I know many like Strafe Lift as well. The Frenzied Blade Melee is a requirement. And then I use the Glacier Grenade. This combines well with the gameplay loop we're going for. It also applies darkness damage, which helps with getting Transcendent energy. And if you end up playing into the more stasis side of things, this will have increased synergy. For your aspects, I recommend going with Consecration. This gives you a melee slide that you activate with your charged melee ability. It launches a wave of solar energy that damages and scorches targets as you leap into the air. Then, while airborne, you activate your melee again and slam into the ground, which makes a second, larger wave of damaging solar energy. If the wave hits a scorched target, they ignite. For our second artifact, we have Knockout. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attacks with arc energy and increases your melee range and damage for a short time. Defeating targets with melee attacks makes you amplified and restores a portion of your health. Defeating more powerful combatants increases the amount of health restored. Not only are you dealing a ton of melee damage, but you're also healing yourself repeatedly and applying Amplified to yourself, which, as we will later find, is a very powerful buff in this setup. I like to combine this with the Fragments Facet of Purpose, so that picking up an Orb of Power will give us either Woven Mail or Frost Armor, depending on the equipped super you chose. Facet of Balance, so that rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants us melee energy. So defeating things with our Consecration gives us Consecration energy, and then rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. So shatter damage from our Glacier Grenade gives us grenade energy. Facet of Awakening causes rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage, or your super generates an elemental pickup of the matching damage type. In this case, you might have fire sprites, you might have stasis shards, or you might have tangles. And then finally, Facet of Protection. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. And then while Transcendent, this effect is increased, it also gives you a nice +10 melee stat. All around, very useful fragment. For your stats and your mods, completely nuke your health stat, it doesn't matter. You want to hit 200 melee, either by using the actual melee stat or by using melee fonts, and then you want to go all in on your super, ideally also to somewhere around 200. You can increase it by using fonts, etc., and then if you have extra energy after that, I would say put that into either your grenade or your weapons. Getting into your mods, you want the stat increase mods to just be whatever you need for your specific build, same with whatever fonts you might need. Remember, we're trying to hit 200 melee and as high of super as we can get. I run a hands-on and a siphon on my helmet to generate more orbs and to get more super from melee kills from our consecration. On my gauntlets, I run a heavy-handed to generate even more orbs. Your chest piece is going to be based on the content you do, what damage resistance you want. The legs, I highly recommend running Absolution so that you get a full all-round ability cooldown decrease when you pick up an orb, combined with Invigoration to reduce your melee cooldown yet again from an orb, and then stacks on stacks to give us more armor charge to keep our uptime really high on our fawns. On the class item, I run Powerful Attraction to pull orbs into me whenever I use my Rally Barricade, combined with Reaper so that after using that barricade, I get a guaranteed orb on my next weapon kill, and then Outreach so that whenever I use my barricade, my melee cooldown is decreased. Keeping on track with the mods, the seasonal mods that are going to matter for this, for the most part, are Flame, Fiber, and Freeze if you want to combine Solar with Stasis or Strand. Tightly Woven so that while you have Woven Mail, you gain increased class ability and grenade stats, or one with Frost so that while Frost Armor is active, Stasis weapons get an increased reload speed and stability. Elemental Benevolence so that granting allies an elemental buff gives class ability energy, and then either Refresh Threads, which causes picking up a Tangle while you have a Strand super to give energy to your least charged ability, or Frost Renewal so that whenever you have Frost Armor, taking critical damage releases a burst that freezes nearby combatants and grants Frost Armor to you and nearby allies. Another pretty decent one here would be Fever and Chill, because this will make it so that if you're running Solar and or Stasis weapons, you can grant yourself Radiant and Frost Armor more easily. Good options in the fourth column are Threaded Blast, so that destroying a Tangle with Strand damage increases the radius of the explosion and the damage, and Cauterized Darkness, so that solar damage is increased from all sources against Strand or Stasis debuffed non-boss combatants. Shoulder to Shoulder is always nice for damage resistance, dealing sustained precision damage while near 2 or more allies gives you damage resistance, and then Elemental Coalescence so that defeating targets has a chance to create an elemental pickup matching your equipped super. So in this case, this is where the Stasis Shards and the extra Tangles will be coming from, and it will be generating Woven Mail and Frost Armor very consistently. We combine this with Elemental Overdrive. Picking up an elemental pickup or Tangle grants increased damage to weapons of the same element. Really, really good. With Shield Crush, while you have Woven Mail or Frost Armor, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. Then, while you are Amplified or Radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. You will be Amplified and either Woven Mailed or Frost Armored pretty much 100% of the time. This is almost always up. For our weapons, I'm rocking a Monte Carlo with the Strand setup. If you don't need or don't want a Monte Carlo, I think the new bow is actually really solid for this, especially if you have any rule that applies more Strand debuffs and stuff like that. I am just having a lot of fun with it. You could also run something like a Tenacious Mastery with Chill Clip if you're running the Stasis setup. That's very nice. In my energy slot, I'm running a Heal Clip Incandescent Aberrant Action. You could also run a Year-Tight Apex with Heal Clip. You could run a Martyr's Retribution with Envious Assassin Incandescent for more explosions, or you can run a Returned Memory with Heal Clip and whatever second column perk you want. I like Burning Ambition quite a bit for that one. And then for my power weapon, the new Stasis Rocket Launcher, Abilites, or something of that sort, it's pronounced something like that. My roll's got Envious Assassin and Elemental Honing. It's really, really, really nice. And then if you want something else, you could run the Submersion with the Stasis setup that also rocks Chill Clip. It's really nice. You could run an Outrageous Fortune if you've got a really good roll on that. All kinds of things, really. This is the general Titan build. The way you play it is pretty simple. You throw down Glacier Grenade, you use your Consecration, you blow literally everything up, you use your super when it's off cooldown regardless of which super it is, you're generating tons of orbs, you're doing tons of damage, you're doing tons of ad clear. The only weakness this build potentially has is it's not super focused for boss damage. If you want me to make one that is more focused for boss damage, I do have a Prismatic T-Crash build that I could show you. Just let me know in the comments down below. If you've watched up to this point, comment down below, Pumpkin Shacks. And if you enjoyed, consider watching one of the videos on your screen. I make builds like this all the time, and I have a huge playlist full of them. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.